we learned about the organization of a lecture. Units 1 through 6, we have learned that lecturers, speakers, often use phrases to help the audience or the listeners follow a lecture or a presentation. And when you are giving a presentation, you have to provide signposting expressions so that it is easier for your listeners to follow and understand your presentation. And this is important because good presentations are easy to follow. So let's review some of the signposting we have learned in units 1 through 6. In unit 1, we learned signposting expressions for sequence. For example, to introduce a point first of all, to add another idea, furthermore, second, and to introduce a conclusion, to sum up, to conclude, to summarize, in short. By the way, finally, is the last idea in a list of ideas. Moving on, Units 1 and 2, we also learned signposting for contrasting ideas. That is, yet, but, on the contrary, even though, and however. In Unit 3, we expanded on that. We focused on signposting for counter arguments. Despite that, however, but that's not completely true, were the 3 new expressions that we reviewed or learned. And in Unit 3, we also learned signposting for cause and effects. For example, we learned the reason for this is that, this is because, and for effects, that's why, this means that. And then we also learned signposting for opinions, for common knowledge or widely held opinions, such as everyone knows that, for personal opinions, I think that. And in Unit 5, we expanded on signposting for common knowledge. We learned 3 new expressions. There's no doubt that, there's no question that. Most people think that. In Unit 6, we will learn about how to signpost at the beginning of a presentation to provide a preview for what we will talk about. Providing a preview is important because it helps our listeners to follow our presentation. So moving on, we provide a signal to introduce the preview of the presentation. We say, for example, first we'll discuss, or I'd like to start by talking about. And then we provide expressions to transition between the ideas that we are previewing to our listeners. For example, to our listeners. Then I'll explore. Next, I will discuss. Now I'd like to talk about. So moving on. Something I need to mention too. I'll, will, I'd like to, I'm going to, I would like to. All of these expressions are in the future tense. That's important because we're talking about something that we will do in the future when we are previewing. Okay? So you may want to consider using sequence phrases from Unit 1, that is first, second, third, etc. However, since you are previewing, you have to include those future tense expressions that we mentioned before. So for example, first, I'd like to discuss. And then again, you can use the sequence phrase or a sequence word. Second, I'm going to talk about. Again, in the future. So that concludes this short presentation and a review of all the signposting that we have learned in units 1 through 6. And I want to assign some homework from your ebooks. So please do the post-listening exercise on page 137 of your ebooks. And that concludes this presentation. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. If you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns, please email me. And please have a nice day.